Hi, my name is Doug Young from the University of Guelph Ridgetown campus. You may have wondered why some crops are promoted as being good biomass crops as opposed to other crops. The reason why comes down to how that crop grows and the specific anatomical features of that crop. Today we'll look at Miscanthus and we'll dissect some Miscanthus plants to look at some of the features that make Miscanthus good for biomass production. So we will look at some of the features of Miscanthus. We'll tear apart some Miscanthus plants, take a look at the insides of the plant, and discuss what makes Miscanthus good as a biomass crop. One of the first things that makes Miscanthus a good option for a biomass crop is that it is quite tall. Miscanthus in the southwestern Ontario area can easily get to 3 meters or 10 feet tall, and I've seen it as much as 4 meters or approximately 13 feet tall in this area. So the Miscanthus has nodes on it every so often up the stem. At each node there is a leaf. Okay, right now this plant is quite dry. It is springtime. This has been out all winter, and so it's ready to be utilized for whatever use it's grown for. Okay, so let's take a minute and we'll take a quick look at the interior structure of one of these nodes. I've taken the opportunity to cut a small piece of stem and split it down the middle so we can see the internal structure of the Miscanthus stalk. And so it was like this. I split it right down through a node. So let's take a look at the internal structure of this particular plant. You can see the nodes have looks very much like bamboo, where you have nodes where you have solid section across the node. There's a fair bit of pith. Okay, the walls of the Miscanthus stalk are quite thick. Okay, so you can see that they are quite thick. They're a few millimeters thick, and when you have many stalks together, okay, then you get a lot of biomass in a fairly small area. They are hollow at this time of year. The pith is gone, and so the Miscanthus plant is hollow at this time of the year. This section of Miscanthus was taken from further up the stem, and if I split this one open, without splitting myself open, there we go. So I split this one open, and we see that the pith of the plant is whole and is still there. So the stalk in this case is not hollow, and it is much so that adds a lot of weight and a lot of biomass to the crop. So unlike many of the other grasses that you might think to use for biomass, Miscanthus is good because it's such a large plant, but also it does have this solid pith through much of the plant. And that adds to the weight, that adds to the biomass that particular plant produces. If the growing season is long enough in southern Ontario, the plant will produce a head. There are no seeds in this head, so if I beat on this head a little bit, there are no seeds. Miscanthus itself is a sterile plant. Even though you might see the fuzz and the fluff here, there are no seeds in this, or at least viable seeds in this Miscanthus. Okay, so the seeds are sterile, and so if you haven't planted the Miscanthus, it's not going to spread to the neighbor or around the township like some weeds might. We've taken a quick look at a Miscanthus plant and the anatomy of a Miscanthus plant, and we've seen that what makes Miscanthus a good crop for biomass. It has a very long, tall stem. It's solid through most of the length. The base is hollow, but most of the length of Miscanthus is solid, and it has very thick walls. So that means there's lots of fiber, lots of cellulose there for biomass purposes. The Miscanthus plant has very thick walls, and those thick walls allow it to stand very, very well. And matter of fact, I've seen Miscanthus go through an ice storm and it's bent, but it hasn't broken. So Miscanthus has such thick walls that they're quite strong, and that makes it stand well, but it also makes it way up and be a nice biomass crop. So that's a quick little summary of Miscanthus and the anatomy of Miscanthus that make it a good biomass crop for Ontario.